This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From online stores to marketing tools, analytics, Squarespace is your one-stop shop to build a beautiful online presence and run your business.
Hello, welcome back to TGTV, more specifically, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another electric car on the channel. I'm going all green at the moment, but all these main manufacturers are now bringing out their first cars into the EV market, and I'm keen to test all of them and see what it's all about and see who's done it best. So next on the chopping block is the Mercedes EQC. Now, I've been living with this car for about a week, and I've been getting to know this thing. Now, usually when I get a brand new car and I drive it around for a bit as a demo, I'm usually pretty impressed. Most modern cars are pretty good, and especially Mercedes, they just don't put a foot wrong. However, rightfully or wrongfully, this EQC hasn't actually matched up to my expectations. Maybe I'm expecting too much of Mercedes, but I'm not 1,000,000% sure on this car. We'll start then with the looks. First things first, obvious things first, the looks. Now, it's not a bad news story, the looks. It actually looks pretty good. I am a fan of the looks, particularly the front end. When you unlock it, I don't know if it's going to do it. But anyway, you've got a running light all the way along the top there, and these lights kind of go and follow around on the corners there. It is good news. It looks good from the front. However, you start coming around the side, and we're going to go into trim options in a second. This is a very highly optioned car. You've got the side steps there. I like those. Got the wheels. I like those as well. But it starts to go wrong as you go around the side. It's kind of SUV, kind of coupe, kind of MPV, kind of not sure. And this shape has some drastic effects inside, and the shape you see on the outside doesn't necessarily translate onto the inside. So remember this comment when we jump in, we go for a little spin, because it gets a little bit confusing. It's a bit like Narnia, but the other way around. Coming around the back then, it kind of loses focus and just goes a little bit kind of bleh. I don't know. The front looks kind of purposeful, a little bit intimidating, has some presence. Back, not so sure, but it can be forgiven. You get a really nice running light across the back there, a nice strip light. I don't know why it's showing, it's probably because it's daylight, but it's not altogether bad. I could live with the looks. I could probably live with the looks, and indeed I was actually eyeing up ordering one of these in the satin Magno paint that they do this car in the top spec. So trim wise then, this is the top one. You can only get a 400 version, but you can get that in Sport and AMG and Premium Plus packs. Top of the line being 73 odd grand, and bottom of the line being about 63 odd grand. I think this is about 70 as a spec as it is. As I said before, you can get grey Magno paint, which is satin paint, which looks really, really good, particularly with these wheels. The lesser option cars don't have these wheels and have less equipment and whatnot inside. They all have the same size battery though. They're all 400s and they all have the same performance. However, let's jump in the car then. And it's not a bad news story in here overall either. It's not spectacular, and I'm not that impressed by it, but we'll go into that why. But it is basically just a GLC with a battery. Now, you see, Mercedes, for their first foray into the electric car market, have not designed an all-new car. Much like Audi with their E-tron, they've pretty much just electrified an existing car they've already got. So this is basically a GLC with batteries under there. They've got a front drivetrain and a back drivetrain attached to a battery. They've got rid of, obviously, the fuel tank and the engine and changed it to various bits and bobs to do with electricity. That's pretty much all they've done, completely oversimplifying it. And Audi's pretty much done the same with their e-tron. Now, the charging technology is slightly less advanced in this than the e-tron. The range in this is on par-ish with the e-tron as well. Range is about 240 miles, depending on where you look, depending on how you drive it, and depending on how you charge it, all those kind of variables. But it's about 220 to 250 miles, depending on where you look, which again is fine. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. But you don't expect Mercedes to just be fine. You expect Mercedes to be up there and absolutely smashing it. But you expect Mercedes to be kind of trailblazers and bring something to the market, their first EV, to be spectacular. And this just really does fall quite far short of spectacular. So we're going to jump in then anyway, as I keep threatening to do. And I'm going to go into exactly how I feel about this car and varying things that have actually surprised me. Because as I say, I was actually looking genuinely to order one of these, but now I'm not 100% sure. It's very Mercedes in here. Very, very Mercedes. You recognise this interior. It's in 1,000,001 of their cars. Not bad at all. It's a good place to be. Let's fire up then. When I say fire up, listen to that cold start. Nat. So we'll put her in drive then. and let's get going.
Here we go. Let's go for a little spin then. Now I'm going to attempt to explain to you exactly what I mean by my preceding comments. So we're in drive, obviously it's silent. We're on the move then. First, moving things first. Performance 0 to 60 is actually a very respectable 4.9 seconds, which definitely trumps the Audi E-tron. I believe it's quicker than the Jaguar I-Pace, but it obviously falls short of some of the more punchy Teslas. 4.9 seconds to 60 is pretty good. And trust me when I say this, you do not want to be doing 0 to 60 flat out in this anywhere other than somewhere with a large stopping distance, because this car weighs 2.5 tons, which is hell. That's 400 kilos heavier than a Jaguar I-Pace, and you can certainly feel it when you're moving around. Not just the bulk when you're kind of winging it around corners, but also the brakes. You do need to prepare to stop quite a while in advance. I mean, 2.5 tons is absolutely mental. Load that with 4 or 5 people and you're close on approaching 3 tons, which is bonkers, to be honest with you. Top speed largely irrelevant because it goes quicker than 70. And day-to-day comfort when driving, it's good. It's not bad at all. It is comfortable, it is silent, and everything, of course, works very well. It is Mercedes, no surprises there. However, and there is a but coming, there is definitely a but coming. I'm just not as blown away by this car as I thought I'd be. I'm not as surprised as I thought I'd be by this car. I'm a little bit underwhelmed, and I know obviously most electric cars are underwhelming. I just had high hopes for Mercedes. They just are one of those brands, whenever they do something, they just do it in an impressive way. They just do it in a kind of trailblazing way, and I just feel with this car it's a bit of a cop-out. I feel they've just thrown it out just to tick the box, and I had such high hopes for Mercedes electrification, and who knows, this will be coming down the line, I'm sure. They will smash it at some point, but ever since they released that electric SLS in that acid green all those moons ago, I had such high hopes for Mercedes electric cars, and this being their first kind of leap into the electric world, I just feel like it was almost half a step. It doesn't feel like anything different to what Jaguar are putting out or Audi are putting out. And in fact, controversially, I probably have that person's looking at me like a nutter. I'm just talking to myself in here. Yep, I'm a loony, just a YouTuber, churning away, nothing to see. I would probably have the Audi over this. I know, controversial. Why? Because everything I've said so far doesn't sound that negative. It's more of just a meh than an actual gripe. However, there are some gripes with this car. Considering it looks like an SUV, it's the size of an SUV. I mean, it is huge. It's really long, pretty wide, and it feels massive in here. You don't get a huge amount of cabin room. You haven't got that much space, considering it feels very cramped in here. And that extends to the fact that the windows are almost letterboxes compared to how you feel they should be. The windscreen is relatively small. The side windows are quite small, but the back, you notice it even as a driver, when you're kind of checking your blind spots, you can't really see much out of them. Those back windows there, from the outside, they look bigger than they are. When you actually come in here, a lot of the trim is actually obscuring the window, so you don't actually get a full amount of glass on the outside, on the inside. And I'll show you, it's hell. It's honestly hell filming YouTube videos in London. Especially, you don't know whether people have recognised you or they're just having a go at you. And I'll show you a video of me opening and closing the door very quickly. Look at the amount of glass on one side and the amount of glass on the other side that you can actually see through. You'll see from the outside you're getting an illusion that the windows are massive, and they're not. And that actually affects you as a driver, because when you're checking your blind spots, it's a bit disorientating, especially at night. And I know this sounds like a bit weak from me, but coming from something like a Range Rover with loads of visibility, and visibility is so key in London. You've just got mopeds and bikes everywhere. You want to know where everything is at all times, particularly a car like this, which you're just going to be using as a runaround. It is a bit disconcerting. Not only that, but the dashboard, it's pretty much up to my chin. It feels very kind of like sunken. It feels like the trims are about there on me, kind of around me here. Very odd. Further to that as well, the rear windscreen, I don't know if you can see it from there. I'll show you some other angles on my camera, but again, you can't really see through the back window at all. It's just like a snippet. It's like driving a supercar. There's no real visibility out the back either. Yes, the mirror works there, and yes, the mirrors work on both sides, and yes, you've got a rear view camera, but I'm a sucker for kind of just looking through windows. I'm a sucker for old school, just relying on looking through a window and glancing. And you do feel a little bit kind of disorientated in here, particularly I think it must be just because it's a big car, yet you still can't see anything. It's a bit like driving a big van, if that makes sense. Sounds like a very minor gripe, but actually it's been winding me up. It has been winding me up, and it just kind of plays on you a little bit. Anyway, I was very surprised by that, and I think it's a little bit kind of devious of Merc to make it look like it's got all this glass on the outside, but actually from the inside you can barely see out of the thing. Also, for an SUV, it's not hugely comfortable. It's comfortable enough and fine, it's not crashy, but you just expect it to be a little bit more plush. Over speed bumps as well, A, not that comfortable, and B, you do get grounding out. I've ground out the front on, not hugely, and there won't be any damage, so Mercedes, please don't ever hurt me. But I have had a bit of scraping on the front on a really kind of minor speed bump. That might well be the weight, but I was really surprised by that. For something that looks like an SUV, not really being 100,000,000% with speed bumps, I was quite surprised by that. And then you've got the interior. The interior, again, it's good. It's Mercedes. You know, it's never going to be rubbish. It's the same as in pretty much all their models now. But I expected them to do something like which Porsche did with the Taycan, which was reinvent interior and its own kind of electric interior, and really kind of put like a special halo on the model. Mercedes haven't done that. They've literally just shoveled you into the same thing as you had before. Now, I know Audi did that, but I kind of expected it of Audi. I didn't expect it of Mercedes. Now, I know I'm being a little bit harsh on Mercedes here. That's only because I hold the brand in such high regard. I thought they would nail it. I thought, in my mind, they're kind of almost like a Porsche. They nail it. Everything they do is done properly. Everything they do is done in a kind of a special way, and I expected for their first EV to have kind of more of a space age interior. Instead, to an extent, you've got a lesser version of what was in Archie's A45S, which really surprised me. Whilst we're petty griping, the drive stalk here to select your gear is a horrible plastic. It's actually disgusting. I know in my AMG GT they've got that amazing solid gear knob thing in the middle. Perfect gear selector, you waggle it back and forth. Very nice piece of kit. Doesn't feel like a Friday afternoon job. This plastic thing, awful. I know it's probably got to be plastic in case you hit your knees on it in an accident, but it just doesn't feel very premium. And considering this car's over 70 grand, you would expect that not to feel that bad. It does have paddle shifters though, which is good. I don't know really what they're for, but I don't know now. Chaos! Just downshifting, lad. Who knows at this point? Now, you do have a few different settings, a few different drive modes. You've got individual, you've got sport, you've got comfort, you've got eco, and you've got maximum range. Eco is what I use it in most of the time. Comfort is very good. Sport is obviously whizzy, but as I said before, you really don't want to be whizzing around in this. It's 2.5 tons, and the brakes, they're good, but probably not up to where they should be in a 2.5 ton car that does 60 in less than 5 seconds. And you have this mode called maximum range. Now, maximum range, unless you've driven one of these things before, you won't be able to get your head around what it's doing or what it's trying to do. Effectively, having read the manual, it basically tries to work out what the minimum amount of input and gas to give you, or electricity to give you, to get you from A to B within the speed limit given your surroundings. So the road layout, other cars around you, the speed limit, your traffic up ahead, whatever. It's using sat nav and cameras and all this kind of clever stuff to work out how much electricity to allow you. So what you end up with is kind of a soft throttle. You kind of put your foot down, you reach a temporary floor in the pedal travel. So you kind of get halfway and then you meet a load of resistance, and it feels like the pedal's bottomed out, and at that point you can't go any faster. You feel like you kind of hit cruise control whilst doing kind of 25 miles an hour around town. Like now I'm trying to accelerate, you push through that floor and then you can kind of take off again. It's really jerky and really horrible. You can't drive it properly in maximum range mode. It doesn't really work in the real world. It's unsafe. You can't just kind of pull out quickly on it. If you're in maximum range mode, you go to pull out, you just have nothing. You could end up in a shunt in it. So I would probably advise not using that. Although try it out, see what I mean? I'm not going mental. But it does feel broken, and it's not a mode that I would use, and it does not seem like a fair trade-off for the extra few miles in range that you may well get out of it. The range meter doesn't change that much using maximum range mode, so I'd probably ignore that completely. Let's get it back in eco. It feels like I'm back in the real world there. Christ. Build quality wise, I am very impressed. This is a Mercedes after all, so it is never going to be rubbish. It's always going to be very good. I don't think I've been in a Mercedes in the past 15, 20 years that has been rubbish. In fact, ever. And this is no exception. It is very, very good. And that's about it, pretty much, with this car. I know I've been a little bit kind of aggy with it, but that's only because of the expectations I've had of the car. And Mercedes come into the electric world. They're doing amazing things in Formula E. They're obviously smashing Formula 1. They are a brand at the top of their game, and I just expected more. Maybe that's an issue on my part, but yeah, slightly underwhelmed, and not just underwhelmed because it's obviously electric and a family car. What's going on here? Oh!
How can I help?
Voice recognition is now talking to me. So it's got loads of clever tech in it, like voice recognition, although that's not what I want right now. So yeah, for a brand at the top of their game, releasing their first EV, and realistically, that is the future of their company, and every single car brand is the electric side of things. Just not that amazed by it. However, is it a bad car? No. Should you buy one? You wouldn't be an idiot if you did. Have I hated this car? Nope. Am I going to be sad about handing it back?
Now, as I said at the beginning of this video is actually brought to you by Squarespace. If you don't know about Squarespace, and I'm sure you've probably heard of them by now, be it from my videos or elsewhere, Squarespace empower individuals to build an online presence or just create that passion project. So it enables people that don't necessarily have IT experience to build websites. I'll go into a few details about Squarespace, but at the end of it, there'll also be an offer that you can get involved in using the link below. Squarespace has got loads of really cool features which enable you to build a website with relative ease and make it look amazing. The first feature of which I think is particularly pertinent to my audience, and certainly to me, is the fact that you can backload content onto there and then it can time release on there. So if you have a very kind of empty day, you can backlog a load of blog posts and it will time release them out. Not only that, but it also ties in with social media. So I'll actually post across your social media as well, and that's all using the tools within Squarespace. Another very important thing for online business, many of you will be aware of it, and actually one of my websites actually employs this at the moment, Correct Chief Notify, is subscription models. You can build subscription models very, very easily with Squarespace and execute them with huge effectiveness. Another massive thing in e-commerce is Mail Blast. That's also something that Squarespace have within their functionality and will happily guide you through, and you can add to your website with ease. Something I particularly enjoy because I'm very nerdy and I'm quite boring, but the analytics side of things, so you can monitor your traffic on the website and see what's working, what's not, and you can see customer journeys throughout your website, and you can see what there's large bounce rate on, what's working and what isn't. That's very, very useful, and if you want to finely tune your website and really smash conversions, that's something you really need to look at, and Squarespace makes that very, very simple as well. So then, what are you waiting for? Now is the time. Launch that passion project, create that online store, create that website, hit Squarespace right now for a free trial, and when you're ready to go, use the link below with my specific code to get 10% off. So get going, let me know how you get on, good luck, and all the best.
Yes. Would I buy one though? No. For me personally, I don't think I would buy one. I was mooting getting the 400 Premium Plus AMG version of this with the satin paint, as I said at the beginning of the video, but I don't think I would now. I don't think I would. I don't think it does it for me looks wise from every angle. I just don't think it's right for me. I think I'm just going to wait for my Tesla next year. My Tesla Model S Plaid mode, which should be coming. So yeah, bit of a mixed bag there. Hopefully you found this at least of vague interest or of vague use if you're looking to buy one of these. As I say, if you are going to get one, I don't think you're an idiot. It is still a good car. Perhaps I just had too lofty expectations of it, which it failed to meet, perhaps unreasonably from me. However, I'm sure in time, Mercedes, as with all other brands, will be updating their EV platform. And EVs from here, for the next 5 years, are literally going to go like that, I think, in terms of development. So is now the right time to jump straight into a manufacturer's first EV, be it this, be it the E-tron, be it the I-Pace? Probably not in any of them, to be honest with you. If you are going to get an EV, I would probably get a Taycan or a Tesla at the moment. Those are the two main players. Although that new Skoda does look good, slightly different end of the market, and the ID3 was actually quite a good car as well. That's on VW's latest, or the VAG Group's latest EV platform. So I'd probably jump in one of those. But for now, this is a very good attempt, but it's by no means spectacular. So on that bombshell, thank you very much for watching, and do subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And I'll see you all very soon. Bye!